Chuck Shoot Podcast. Thanks for checking us out. I love doing this show so much, and one of the things that I love about doing this show is getting to meet and talk with amazing people from all sorts of different walks of life. Obviously, I have a lot of musicians and rock stars on here, but specifically didn't name my show Rock Talk or something like that, and that's nothing against the people who are doing rock-specific shows, but I just wanted to have an opportunity to talk to all sorts of different kinds of people. And today is an example of that. My guest is Zoe Abbott. She's actually a financial advisor. So we're going to discuss that career that she has and money. But also she's just has such an inspiring story about losing weight. She lost 160 pounds, which basically is a whole person. So we're going to spend some time talking about that and how with the weight loss and money management, a lot of that is the same. It's all goal related. So very cool stuff. Good discussion with Zoe. Hope you guys enjoy it. Welcome, Zoe Abbott. Is it Abbott or a bot? Because I heard somebody say it as a bot.
No, it's Abbott.
Okay. I figured they had said it wrong and you just didn't correct them. So that's good. All right. So Zoe Abbott, financial advisor, singer, weight loss expert, nutrition I mean, you're like a jack of all trades, Jill of all trades, I should say, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as nutrition, weight loss. I did lose 150 pounds in the last year and a half, but I wouldn't say that I'm an expert on it. I've just done the work.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. We'll get to that. So let's start with your background. You grew up with a single father, and your dad actually had 3 bankruptcies, which that might explain part of your interest in financial advising and money. You must have learned at a young age what that was like. Talk about that, growing up with that.
Yeah, well, the first time that we did a bankruptcy, I was about 3 years old, and we lost our home, and we had to move. And we moved all 4 of us. It was my mom, my brother, and my dad. We all lived in one bedroom for a while, like years actually, rebuilding. And so I went from I had several ups and downs growing up financially. My dad did end up getting us off our feet probably within like several years. And he had a really successful business actually for some years. And we went from that to, renting a home, and then like a 4-bedroom house, to then we actually were renting like a 6,000 square foot house by the time I was like, 12 or something. And then we had another bankruptcy within a year or two from that. And then so I was like 14 when we had the second bankruptcy, and then we downgraded again to an apartment. And then, he recovered from that. And he was actually mid his 3rd bankruptcy when he passed away when I was 25 years old. That was some years ago. And so, I went through 3 bankruptcies with my father.
Wow. Yeah. So that must have had some sort of effect on, you've been through that, you struggled, and there's some people that they just become used to that. And then that's just their way of life. But there was something inside of you that said, I don't want to go through this anymore. And actually, I think it was later in life that we'll get to, but let's talk about the weight loss thing. Now, I normally wouldn't bring up a woman's weight in an interview, but I because you're so open about it on social media and other interviewers, and it's just such an inspirational story. Like you said, you lost 150 pounds. And you were, at that time before you lost the weight, you said you were pushing through like daily pain, like you felt judged and you had low confidence. Basically, it was kind of ruining your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, it's massively harms your confidence for sure. But not just that, I had mortifying experiences, just very embarrassing. I was, over 300 pounds, and not just the physical pain, but just feeling very unworthy and very low confidence. And it can be very upsetting, Yeah. There were some defining moments, definitely some very depressing incidents for sure.
Yeah. You talked about, like going to an airplane, that you were so embarrassed because your seatbelt wouldn't fit, that you were too embarrassed to ask for a seatbelt extender. And there was another experience where you went on a theme park ride and you couldn't fit in the ride. So, like with those experiences, like, do you just try to ignore it and pretend, like tell yourself, it's not that big a deal, this happens to a lot of people? Or, I mean, it's just like you love the food so much that it's like an addiction and you just can't control it? Or like, what's going through your mind at those times? Like with those incidences, do you just kind of brush them off and then just kind of move on?
In some incidents, I think it's more like you have a deep apathy. I feel like when you get, at least for myself, when I was that overweight, it was unreal that I would ever be able to, do anything about it. It's one thing to be like, I need to lose 5 to 20 pounds or something, but it's another thing to be like, I need to lose a whole person or more than a whole person. It becomes like a very daunting thing. And so at times there was a trying to have just self-acceptance about it. But then part of me also really couldn't do that because I knew how unhealthy it was and how much I didn't want to accept it. I think people run into different things. I think people try to embrace it, and I'm all for self-love and body positivity. It's not about the way you look though at a specific point. It's actually just health. Like, are you like borderline diabetic? Are you like, or do you have diabetes, or are you going to actually be around? Is this actually going to take 20, 30 years off your life? You know what I mean? So there's that fine line. And I feel like, I'm all for, like I said, body positivity and stuff like that. But sometimes people are embracing unhealthy situations as well.
Yeah.
Just because they don't know how to handle it.
Did people ever,
But I don't think obese people should feel horrible about themselves all the time. Like that's terrible,
No.
because I was in that situation. I was in that situation where, I had self-hatred, that's not good. So.
Hatred. So did people ever make comments or discriminate against you when you were overweight, or
time.
Really, like to
All
your
the time.
face?
I mean, I got it a lot from my dad, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I loved my dad, and we actually had a great relationship as like me as an adult, but as a kid, he didn't know how to handle it, and I definitely had like a toxic relationship because he was a very good and caring dad, and I had a good relationship with him, but he would get very physically, emotionally, and verbally abusive about it. And he didn't know how to handle it. So he thought that beating me up sometimes so that I wouldn't eat food would help. He thought, like he didn't know how to deal with it. And so it was rough, and I was on appetite suppressants from the age of 9. Diets. I used to have to like pee on a keto stick. Like you can get them at the pharmacy, or I used to. I haven't seen them, whatever. And like, if it was purple, it meant that I was burnt, that I was, ketosing, or I was burning fat or whatever, and I was safe. And if it didn't turn that color, then I'd just get beat up, So it wasn't, it was not a good situation, for me. And I was a very, strong-willed child. And I somehow just got worse and worse and worse. I never actually was able to, like, none of it worked, I just
did you like binge eat or like what? I mean, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to binge eat for sure. I mean, here's the other thing that was really messed up about the situation. This is why I say it was a toxic situation, is like, I was basically raised by a single dad, and because my mom wasn't in the picture while I was growing up. She didn't come back to us till like 13, 14. And by then, actually, I left the house when I was 14 years old. So I was, I was gone at that point. But she, he would have us, we ate fast food and all you can eat buffets every single day of the week. Like I particularly remember like, Tuesdays we go to McDonald's, Fridays was like Golden Corral, Thursdays was like all you can eat barbecue. And I was supposed to be on like an Atkins or whatever keto version of a diet, but we were eating so much food, like I wasn't actually losing weight. So we didn't actually have proper technology, proper information. Like, it was just a really bad situation.
Sure.
So I was eating a lot. Like it wasn't even like binging. It was just like, that was how we ate. We just had terrible habits and routines and stuff like that. I did. I mean, food definitely was, it was a comfort for me. I ate when I was happy. I ate when I was sad. I ate when I was depressed. I ate when I was angry. Food I just had this very unhealthy relationship with it. And, so, and I definitely remember times that I would binge eat at, and maybe even eat myself into pain a little bit. I never had, I never had bulimia or any of that. But I definitely did have a very unhealthy relationship with it,
Wow.
you know?
So yeah, then talk about this concept of like, I never heard this term until like, you know, last 5 or 10 years, but like fat shaming. And then there's a lot of this stuff like big is beautiful. Like, I think maybe the pendulum is swung kind of the other way. Where like, for example, Lena, I don't know if you watch the show Girls, Lena Dunham. She was a little bit overweight, you know, just not like morbidly obese, but she was overweight, and she would often pose nude in the show. And she, you know, she was praised by other women like, oh, that's so great that you're, you know, showing your body, even though it's not perfect. But then after the show, she lost all this weight, and then everyone came after her saying, what are you doing losing weight? Like that was a bad thing. I mean, can't we praise people for trying to be healthy? Like, why is that a bad thing?
Oh yeah, 100%. You know what it is? There's a lot of like things that people do, and there's how people perceive the communication.
Mhm.
And I feel like people don't always get the same, they don't always see things the same way, right? So if the message is body positivity, that's great. I think a really good example is actually, I just want to, you know, bring it out. There's like Lizzo, for example. Lizzo on social media, she's
Mhm.
like Lizzo beating, right, is her IG. And you know, she poses or she does videos a lot like almost completely butt naked, like, you know, shaking around and stuff like that. And she's praised mostly by it. I mean, there's a lot of haters, of course, in social media. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of nasty people on social media, let's be real.
Sure.
But her message that I feel the message she's trying to say is body positivity and love yourself, which I think is a great message. But then some people take that as, you know, be obese and be unhealthy. So it's like you've got these polarizing kind of communications. Because the truth
Mhm.
is, you know, I mean, I'm not a medical doctor, but looking at her like just pure BMI or whatever, like I wouldn't consider that's healthy. But I think it's great that she's beautiful and she
Mhm.
glows and she loves herself. And I think that's what she's trying to say. Like, I don't think she's trying to tell people, like, hey, be unhealthy. And at the same time, you could argue that she really isn't that bad. I haven't seen her medical records or anything like that. I've seen
Right.
her on
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah.
I've seen her on stage and she's got tremendous energy and abilities and like whatever. But who knows? Like, you know, some people will argue it doesn't matter because like if you have that type of weight on your body, like your body is stressed out. It's not
Right.
good, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I
But
think
anyway, like,
there's a pendulum though. Like, you know, when a girl is 5 or 10 pounds overweight and Hollywood is saying you need to lose weight, like that is ridiculous. But it's also ridiculous, you
yeah.
know, if someone was 300 pounds and they're saying big is beautiful, it's like, well, no, I mean, that's like, I'm concerned about people like that. Like, we shouldn't shame them and call them names or something. But I don't
Yeah.
know. You know, it's kind of like a delicate dance, I guess, especially as a male. I
Yeah.
don't want to be commenting on anyone's
Yeah.
weight.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It has nothing to do with beauty. You
Yeah,
know, anyone can be beautiful and beauty is subjective and it's
sure.
inward and outward. Right.
Yeah.
So I think we could say big is beautiful because they're beautiful people. Right. But I think it's just a matter of healthy or not. But again, it's like if you see an unhealthy person, like usually you're not like you're unhealthy. That's not, I mean, it doesn't help anything to say that, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think we want to help people. I think it's good to bring education awareness. I think it's good to, you know, positively enforce people and, you know, help them out when they need it. But
Yeah.
ultimately, someone has to want to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, throughout my life, whether I was, you know, talked to in a nasty way or a nice way, it wasn't until I decided and felt like I could do something about it that I did it, you
Yeah.
know, and it doesn't matter what anyone would have said to me. I had to make that decision myself, you know, and do
Right.
the work. It's not
Yeah.
easy. It's really a lot of hard work.
So
So,
let's
you know, I
talk
had to want
about,
it enough.
yeah, let's talk about that because
Yeah.
it was actually when you decided it was a social media influencer that inspired you to lose weight. And this was interesting. And this is something that, you know, again, I don't want to get too personal, but I heard you talk about this. So I think it's okay to bring up. You were worried that if you lost the weight, you're over 300 pounds, you might look even worse because of the loose skin and the way that you look was a big motivation. Honestly, I mean, the health is a piece of
Yeah.
it, but you're young enough at that point that the health isn't really going to probably be an issue for another 10, 20 years. So
Right.
talk about that, about, you know, how you were able to overcome that. And by the way, and who was the influencer that inspired you, or can you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Her name's Simone Anderson. I mean,
Okay.
it was a combination of things, right? But she really made it real to me. Like, so she was one of the final pieces for me,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. And I reached out to her and I let her know that, and she was very cool. And anyways,
Hmm.
She's in New Zealand, I think.
Okay.
But I really connected with her because she was around my age. She was around, my weight, everything. Right.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was, I have to admit, like, how I looked was a really huge determining factor. Because as overweight as I was, like, I, held my weight fairly well. And, I was worried that I was going to feel even worse about myself and even less confident than I already was, and so
Mm-hmm.
that was like a real thing.
Yeah.
It's part of also why I decided to lose weight the way that I did, and really, get a personal trainer, and then also really dedicate myself to working out, because it actually worked out. I ended up looking thousands of times better than I thought I would by the end. And then I went and I got skin removal surgery after I've lost a little bit more than 150 pounds at this stage.
Wow.
but
It's
yeah, like maybe
amazing.
closer to 160 or something. So then when I hit that mark, then I rewarded myself, and I went and I got skin removal surgery. And, it would be lying to say that I'm 100% happy and confident with my body, because I don't even know if that's possible. I mean, it's
Sure.
a constant thing, but
Well, even the perfect people, quote unquote, perfect people complain about things. Britney Spears, I remember, would complain about things when,
yeah.
So
Yeah,
how did you lose the weight?
But I feel
Yeah.
my confidence is so
Sure.
much better. After I got my surgery and I looked at myself in the mirror, just without clothes or whatever, I literally cried, because I was like, I look really good. Like I feel like I could be comfortable,
Yeah.
like, with someone looking at me and feel beautiful,
Right.
and that's huge.
That's huge. So how did you lose the weight? You said personal trainer. Did you do a specific diet, like vegan or keto or paleo or low calorie, or what did you?
It's a combination of things. I mean, to start, like, I really focused on, I took the information. I studied a lot of different things. I had been on diets my entire life, basically, since I was like 9 years old. To be honest, like, the first thing that I did was really cut my calories. Yes, I've worked with personal trainers throughout the entire time. And some people will say, well, I don't have money for that or whatever, but it's a worthwhile investment. So even if you don't have money, I would say just pay for it, because most people spend more on coffee and other things than they do on, like,
was there any
their health.
Yeah. Was there any foods that you had to give up? And if so, what do you miss the most? I know you like Korean barbecue. Is there anything else that you had to give up, or?
Well, you've really done your research.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm good at.
It's good. You're good. Nowadays, I don't restrict myself at all, except by quantity.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I have the healthiest relationship with food I've ever had. Like, I allow myself, like, look, I have chocolate on my desk right now. I ate 2 pieces of this today.
Nice.
But everything is about being temperate, which is like everything in moderation.
Sure.
But yeah, you have to, I would say I went through many different things. I mean, many different stages, after I dropped my first, like, real good chunk of weight, and I had broken under 300 pounds. I was stably under that. I decided to go and get a sleeve, like a gastric sleeve. So I did that. But I knew that, people do that and they drop a lot of weight sometimes, and then they gain it all back, or they don't really get down to where they need to be, or they don't look anything like the way that I do. And so that helped me a bit with the portion control, but I had only done that when I was already halfway through my weight loss progress. So I totally changed my mental, my physical state, and my habits. And I was exercising every day, and I was eating well. And I definitely, there are some laws and rules that apply no matter what diet you're on. The fact is, if you eat more calories than what you burn, you will not lose weight. So calories is a thing. Yeah. Now, some people decide different ways of how they count it, or they don't count it, or they just focus on types of foods because certain foods are actually low calorie versus others. But it's just a fact. There's other things that we could all agree on. It doesn't matter what diet you're doing. Most diets do not involve eating refined sugars or simple carbs and stuff like that. So there's some basic stuff we can all agree on. It doesn't matter, like, what your diet is, whether it's a special diet, whether you're vegan, where you're not, or you eat meat or whatever. So I applied all of that stuff. I consistently stayed exercising. Once I was doing that, I would say I went through different phases. funnily enough, the thing that really worked for me the most was my current trainer that I work with. He was like, okay, I'm setting you a protein quota. You have to eat a certain amount of protein, right? And he made it super high. It was like for me, like 150 grams of protein. I was like, how am I ever going to be able to eat that much protein? It's like impossible. I could eat all day and it'd be hard. Like I'd be so stuffed. It'd be like impossible. But what that forced me to do was find low calorie, high protein, and it had to be very clean because you're not going to get that amount of protein in crappy food.
So what's your go-to high protein, low calorie food?
Okay. So shakes, I don't like them, but I'll do usually 1 or 2 a day, because that's a way to get like 20, 30 grams in, generally speaking. There are some that are better than others. I forgot the brand. I forgot the brand of the powder protein. My trainer gave it to me. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'll connect you up with my trainer because I can't remember. But I'll be totally honest with you. The shakes that I actually will do are not the best, but they're not the worst. And those are the Orgain.
Oh, I've seen those. Yeah,
Costco. Yeah. And the thing is, because let's be real, like I live a really fast paced life. I run a business. I do a lot of stuff. I'm busy. I'm a mom. I just have, so grab and go is super important to me. Convenience is huge. And I'm all about actually, being able to juggle your life. And so it's good, but it's not the best. So I'm not going to vouch for it and say, this is the best thing out there. It works. It works. Absolutely. So those Orgain shakes that you can buy from Costco, you can also buy them on Amazon. It's like the clean one. Yeah. The organic clean one. That one's great. I get like 20, 30 grams out of that. And I'll do 1 or 2 of those a day. I found a couple other tricks, honestly. Again, not the best, but it helps, So you can get Quest chips and like. Yes, I love those. Okay. I don't like all of them. The one that I'm like that I think is the best one is like the nacho cheese one. Yes, that's my favorite too. Yeah, I love that one. And again, I'm not saying they're not the best, but they're not the worst. But they get your protein in, right? Okay, so I found this trick. You can eat cottage cheese. Now, obviously, if you're a dairy or a lactose intolerant or something like that, or you want to stay away from that, maybe dairy is not the best, but cottage cheese is okay. I don't notice a massive, but again, like a cup, like a half a cup of that, and like so much protein for so little calories. That's a good deal. Okay. Otherwise, eggs, lean chicken, fish. I like scallops, shrimp, like seafood, generally speaking, is very high protein, low carb. Very cool. I'm sorry, low calorie. And I love me some steak, Yeah. And so I always prioritize my protein in before anything else. And then if I have space, then I eat meat and I eat vegetables and fruit. Awesome. And then I almost have no space to eat anything else because I have this protein quota. Yeah. That works for me. Okay. It might be a little harder for a vegan, but then I guess you just have substitute protein. Sure. And then you stay away away from processed food as much. But then what happens is like, okay, once I got my protein quota in, then I can eat what I want. And I'm pretty full at that point. So I don't really have much space for other things. So like when I eat my chocolate that I have sitting here, I'll eat like 1 or 2 pieces instead of, if I hadn't had my protein quota, I'd eat the entire thing. Probably. Sure. That makes sense. So that's very cool. So yeah, you've lost over 150 pounds, 160. And you're still going. I mean, you're still eating really healthy. So maybe some more weight. Are you still trying to lose more? Or are you happy where you're at for now? Or? Yeah, I mean, I'm not satisfied yet. But I definitely am not stressing myself out, and I'm not feeling like, I feel like I could probably lose another 20 pounds or something, but I feel pretty good. Yeah. It's amazing. Very inspirational. Yeah. So, well, let's switch gears a little bit here and talk about your career. Now, your career actually started, your background is in pastoral counseling, and you did that for 10 years. I was a counselor, so I know how hard that can be, but you're dealing with families and relationships, and you're seeing some money struggles as you're, doing this job in pastoral counseling. So talk about that and how you developed your people skills by doing this job, because that's a big part of what you do now. Yeah. I mean, I feel like with counseling and stuff like that, there's a very strong purpose to help. You really want to help people. Communication is really key, and relationship ability. And so that's really, and just understanding, when you I think I probably had 20,000 counseling hours by the time I would, transition from that career to this career. And in 20,000 hours, you really get to know people, you understand them, how they think, how they feel, what they go through. And it was very clear to me that the two main areas that everyone has their stuff and there's other things, but the two main areas that most people run into is they have a lot of turmoil in regards to money and finance, and then a lot in regards to sex, family, and relationships. These are probably the biggest areas that people just that destroy them,
Mm-hmm.
and just ruin their lives. And so, to me, finance seemed to be a pretty good place that I could make a difference and really help people. And I also realized that a lot of stuff that goes on there's a lot of mental and spiritual aspects of it. And
Mm.
so, and finance is such a interesting area because it's, people are impulsive and they have habits and they have false information and they have, terrible experiences and they have lack of education, so it's
Yeah.
just,
Well, so
yeah.
it's interesting actually. My dad's a financial planner, so
Okay.
so I know a lot about it. So it's interesting. He has a very interesting approach. Let's see if you agree with this. So he says there's basically like three types of people with money. Like there's the people that you give them a dollar, they save a dollar. There's the people that you give them a dollar, they spend a dollar, and then there's the kind of people that you give them a dollar and they put a down payment on something. Would you agree with that? He said basically you can't change that, but what you have to know is like if people can recognize which type they are, then you can kind of learn how to work around it. But basically, those are the three types of people. Would you agree with that after all your years in working with people?
I will agree that it's not an incorrect observation that there are types of people, but I don't go into agreement with that approach. I would be more like, okay, great. So we know that we have certain impulses and habits. Let's do some education and change things,
Right.
and be who you want to be, because I do believe that people can change. I do believe that people can be educated, and I believe that that's the one thing we as human beings can do is we can change their mind. We can change our mind and we can make new decisions. And I am a great example of that. I
Absolutely.
changed my
Yeah.
mind. I changed my mind. I, made a decision and I lost 150 plus pounds. I changed my mind. I made a decision and I started saving and investing money and prioritizing that. I changed my mind and my decisions and I got out of debt. I don't believe that people should, see their flaws or their faults and just go into agreement with that's the way things are. I think that people should see them, be self-aware, and make decisions to change it.
Right.
That's up to them too. They
Yeah.
can also decide not to change it, and they can work with however they want to do that. But that's a one thing that only a human being can do is make a decision about something.
Right. So
You can literally
yeah.
change like that. Like you can decide that I mean, simple things. My favorite color is blah. Tomorrow, give me something else. You could decide you like this. Now you like that. Like, it's the most amazing ability that we have as
Absolutely.
people.
But let's talk about
Yeah.
some of the mental blocks that people have. Like you talk about, people grow up with these things like money is scarce, money doesn't grow on trees. So people have these kind of ideas about money. What are some of the main reasons that people fail with money in their mindset and these mental blocks? Like what kinds of things are they thinking that are maybe not true?
Well, I mean, definitely some of those things you mentioned are definitely things that are ingrained in people from a very young age. And maybe it's not even verbally stated exactly that way, although those are sayings and phrases like money doesn't grow on trees or, but even just like, the parent saying, we don't have money for that, or like,
Mm-hmm.
or in a way, or what do you think this is, or something like that, or seeing the struggles, or seeing even just bad habits, or seeing their parents be very very irresponsible with it. So
Yeah.
these all end up being our education.
Well, yeah, and I think you talk about your favorite saying like you got to have a plan. People don't plan to fail; they fail to plan. So having a plan and changing the habits is the biggest way to kind of. It's the same thing with your weight loss too. Like you had a goal that you wanted to hit, and you just had to change the habits and work around that, right?
Yeah, it's really with both situations, either health or wealth, right? Weight loss or getting wealthy, it's kind of the same routine. It's like facing the situation, right? You know that there's a situation there that you need to change and handle, right? Finding the information out about it so that you can achieve your goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with the weight loss. Like if you don't know what sugar is, or you don't know what a calorie is, or you don't understand the importance of diet and exercise combined or whatever, you're not going to get results. Same thing with wealth. If you don't understand what compounding interest is, or you don't understand what vehicles are out there that you can do, like it all starts with that basic foundation. Once you have the technology of being able to have success in those things, then all it is a plan, and then disciplined application of those steps over and over and over again over a long period of time to get the results that you want.
Yeah. Well, and this is interesting that, because I've listened to other financial advisors too, besides my dad, but you talk about how a lot of the financial influencers right now are in their 60s and 70s, and that their approach just doesn't mesh well with younger people, because younger people want, certain things. And so you try to teach people how to, living in the moment and securing your future are not incompatible. So it's not always necessarily about shrinking people's goals and dreams to fit their reality, but you want to know what their goals and dreams are and then change their reality to fit that, right? Like, so if they want certain 100%. Things, they gotta make more money.
100%. I also, because of my counseling background, also know how people think.
Yeah.
And I know that you talk about how to cut back and get rid of and not have things, people run away from you. This is why people don't like financial advisors and don't work with them. And the thing is that accountants, they deal in numbers, right? They don't deal in people. And the problem is that financial planners and advisors tend to be that because they're really good at that accounting stuff and it's very easy for them. And so they're like, hey, just be like me, right? But the problem is most people are not like them. They're not going to think like them, and they're not going to act like them. So it's just, you would think that the accountant number thing works, but a lot of times it's the opposite. And so I'm all about adding, an abundance mindset, and having all the nice things. And I don't shy away from nice things, but I also save and invest more money than almost anyone I know. Right. But I mean, the dress that I'm wearing right now, this is like over $1,000 dress. You know what I mean? Like, I don't shy away from nice things at all. These are Chanel sunglasses. These were like $600 or no, $900. Like, but I invest and save more than almost anybody that I know. So it's all relative, So it's like, yeah.
So if people have, so like for me, let's just take me, for example, like, I've never been to Europe. So like, that's something I would want to do, but if I'm supposed to save and invest, how am I going to get to Europe? Like, so how would you advise me on something like that? Would you tell me I need to basically make more money, or?
Well, yes, but I would also just create, like, the first thing you got to do is, if you have a goal that you want to attain, you have to direct a channel towards that, put something on it, and start flowing towards it. So I would set you up on maybe a simple investment thing where you put it as like either a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly thing where you put a little flow to it. I don't care if it's $10 to get started. You just start doing that, because now you're putting your goals there. Now you can take a look. I mean, here's the thing, what happens too. If you actually face your situation, you know exactly where your money is going. I notice, without me even having to tell anybody, if it's not as important to them, they will also just naturally make those changes. It's not my job to tell them to make those changes. They will start doing it because they see that they want that target faster. Apart from, obviously, I feel like the correct target always, and everyone knows this because they'll tell me, I just need to make more money. I'm like, yes, that is always the correct target. It's not, I can only tell someone to cut back so much. Like, I can tell someone, you can eat beans and rice, and make your food bills super low. But generally that's not something that people get excited about. It doesn't help them to make more money. It just makes them more depressed, you know? So you're working with the fact that your job is to help someone face their situation, make their own decisions, like self-determinedly, and also go like up emotionally, not down, because people who go down emotionally are going to actually be less effective. They're going to make less money. They're going to get less done. So my job is to make someone feel more enthusiastic and happy and fun and game and, oh my gosh, and honestly, putting someone on a plan to grow their money and being like, hey, if you keep doing this $100, you're on track for 100,000, even though that 100,000 may not be what they want $1 million, they're still on track. So they're going to feel a lot better better about their future. And then I'm like, yeah, so now the only thing that you need to do is figure out how to increase that so you can get your goals and dreams faster. It's a much better thing to focus on than debt elimination.
Yeah. Do you ever tell
cutting back
people
your expenses?
Do you ever have people that are trying to invest too much? Like, you ever tell them like, hey, why don't you live a little and spend some of this money? You got a lot of money. You can spend some of this, or is it better to just invest it? I mean, if that's what they want. Some people really like to save. They don't like spending money. It's like, it like pains them. Just like $900 on sunglasses would pain them, even if they're millionaires.
Yeah. It's a very small percentage of people, very small percentage of people. But yeah, I mean, some people are like that. But again, generally that's trauma. They're like that because of, their experience or their own education. And I feel like on the other side, of that, then, that's definitely a mental barrier, because I think people should enjoy life. Now, that being said, I would say my aunt kind of falls into that category a little bit, but I noticed though that she just values different things, like it's not like she finds more joy doing other activities than spending money. And that's fine. I think she's gotten a little better also. I mean, I hope she doesn't listen to this and she's like, I can't believe she's saying this, but I mean, I've found her to be very, very cheap growing up at various times, but there are certain things she's not. So people value different things.
Sure.
I don't value material things over non-material things. I actually, I was looking at it and I think I donated half of my income to charity last year. I don't, so at the same time, like, you don't really know what a person really is like or who they are. You can't judge anybody by their exterior at all. Like, I have, I drove, it's a funny story. I've been driving a Honda this whole time. I only recently got a Benz, like a Mercedes. And it was really funny because I remember someone telling me, yeah, I don't think you can help me at all because you drive a Honda. And I'm like, really? I'm like, yeah. I was like, wow, I held myself back and I was like, all right, well, yeah, maybe that's true. And
no, that is a big thing. My girlfriend's uncle, he is in sales, and they make him get a nice car, because when you're dealing with clients, if you don't have a specific, certain cars they have on the list that he's allowed to buy, because otherwise it doesn't look, it's a certain thing. It's a really interesting concept with this image and brand names and things like that. Cause I don't know, to me, I don't know that stuff just doesn't matter, but I see how it matters to other people. Like with financial advisors, you have to have a certain level of, being able to show success, right?
I guess so. I mean, he doesn't know how much money I have in the bank. He doesn't know my investments or anything.
And that's what's funny is a lot of the millionaires.
In my mind, I was like, yeah, well, someone who's going to judge someone based off of their car probably won't be very, open to anything that I have to say anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I mean, it did bring up a good point, and I was like, okay, fine, I'm going to go get a Benz. So I did that.
It's just interesting though. Yeah. Because a lot of the people that are financially successful aren't flashy. Like Bill, you see there's pictures of Bill Gates out there. Like, I think there was one, he went to some fast food restaurant, forgot his wallet. I mean, and Warren Buffett doesn't live in the same house and drives like a very modest car. And so,
I mean, some of it is public relations too. Like, yeah, I mean, Warren Buffett definitely is a great example, like across the boards, as someone who's really good with money and finance and probably, like, honestly, very low in proportion to his net worth, but it's marketing too. I mean, yeah, he still has that house, but he also has like a multi-million-dollar mansion in Malibu on the water. Like, people, I mean, you can fall for some of the marketing stuff too on the other side of things. But yeah, I'm in relation, like, he's definitely a lot less spendy versus how much he makes versus some people that I see that are very, very, I mean, I know.
So do you believe it when some of these millionaires and billionaires, they say that, that they're going to, that people should give their money, like, that being rich it's almost like they talk about having money as a bad thing, but like they're billionaires, but then they act like, oh, people shouldn't, take so much money that we should have higher taxes and things. It's like interesting. Like Warren Buffett would complain about how his secretary had a higher tax bracket than he did. And it's like, I don't know. It's like interesting to me. Cause it's like, I mean, he could give all his money away if he wanted, right?
Yeah. And again, it's all marketing. I don't really
Hmm.
know what's going on. You only see what the news or you only see what the news or the media wants you to see. Let's be
Right.
real. Like,
True.
like he's got great public relations though. Let me tell you, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
for
we
sure.
always talk about that, but I'm like, yeah, but he has tons of other real estate. I mean, the guy's, it's not like
Yeah.
if he doesn't want something, he probably values different things. I know a billionaire who drives a Ford, like it's totally
Wow.
fine, but he does also have a Tesla, but he
Yeah.
drives the Ford around, so
Okay.
it's all public
Huh.
perception. How do you want to like look? But I will tell you, I was just sitting down with one of my he's a head he runs an accountancy firm that I refer a lot of my clients to, and he's an accountant. And with we're not discussing like specifics, but he's like, I have janitors that I represent that are worth they're multimillionaires that have had really good managed money.
Hmm.
Like they literally have a janitor type job that they've been very consistent and routine their entire lives, and they are multimillionaires. I also have a client that makes $10 million a year who cannot even keep 100K in his bank account.
No, yeah. My dad would tell me the same thing about he knows doctors and things that they go broke because they don't know how to manage their money. It's this you're
Yes.
exactly right.
It's real. It's real.
Yeah.
And I have clients that make 30,000 a year and clients that make 1 million and anything in between. And
Isn't a
they all
lot
have
of
the
it
same
too,
problems.
because like my dad told me he had this one guy the guy was a brain surgeon and he invested with this guy who was a crook and took all his money. And so then this guy's a brain surgeon. He's living in this tiny, like 1 bedroom apartment because he blew his whole retirement savings. So that's a big piece of what you do too, is being like, kind of like basically being a good person and not screwing people over. Cause a lot of people get screwed over in the financial advising business, right?
Yeah, well, I'm going to even take a step back. Like, I am not your traditional financial advisor. In fact, the stuff that I mostly work in, just so that it's really clear to people, is I am into proper debt elimination and management, having great credit, excellent credit, having protection plans in place, which could be retirement and life insurance,
Mm-hmm.
and then having some really basic. And I work almost purely in very simple indexed funds. So most of my clients aren't even in things that they can even lose money in. Like it's not even like I am the stable financial foundation person.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I do essentially is I help them with education. And if they want to do stock market investments or add to that or do anything else that makes the money, that's great. But if they have their stable financial foundation in it, then they can do whatever they want that makes them money. But let's be real, more than 99% of the population do not make money because they gamble or buy stocks or any type of investment that has a lot of risk. They make money because they're teachers, they're artists, or they create valuable exchangeable products and services and goods in exchange for money.
Mm-hmm. So is
Like we
real
all
estate?
do something.
Yeah.
We all do something. We have a job that we
Right.
exchange with society, and we get paid in proportion to that. It's not because there's very few people that actually just make money because they shift money around or they're day traders or they have no exchangeable product to society.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us are doing things that are bringing some sort of value to society. And and that's what people should be doing. Like, what's the point of doing anything that doesn't bring value or help another person?
Right. So should people invest in what's better, stock market or real estate, or should it be a mix, or should you at least have like your house and then take what's left and put it in the stock market?
You're gonna like my answer.
Okay.
People should invest in themselves. They should invest in themselves as the number one thing. I don't think that people should really get involved in anything that they're not educated in and that they can't make choices that they can take responsibility for the outcomes of.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be times when you have some additional money, it would make sense to put some in the market, put some in real estate. But again, get educated on it. I generally keep people in what we call fixed and index products, which have guarantees attached to them where they can't lose money, but they can still take advantage of gains as a beginner and starting. And sometimes also even the people that are educated in this stuff and can make smart decisions should have at least a portion of their money in those things, because there's something about being able to have your attention not stuck in what your money is doing, and honestly in what is going to make you more money.
Yeah.
Right?
Did you have a rule
if
with
you are in the real estate business, invest mostly in real estate. If you are in the market business, real estate, like invest in the market. If you're an artist, invest in yourself mostly so that you can produce more. If you're a business owner, invest in your business that's going to make you money.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's better
if
to,
you're passively
yeah.
investing, like let's say you're an employee somewhere. Yeah. I mean, take advantage of your 401k plan, but understand it a little bit. Don't depend on one item. You know, do all wealthy people generally have real estate and stock? Yeah. I mean, you eventually move out into that, but there's gradients and proportions and ratios, and that's going to be different from person to person. That's what I help people figure out.
Yeah. So, but like for most people, like it'd be better to have a mortgage and invest in a house, because over time, 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years, like that house will be worth a lot more than if they were renting or something like that. Right.
Yeah. And again, that decision is going to be personal, because in some areas of the country, rent is much lower than it is to buy, or it's almost impossible for them to buy at their income, like in some metropolitan cities and stuff like that. And, you know, it really depends on what you're.
So for that, it might be better to rent cheap and then put some money in the stock market. So it just depends, is what you're saying. It's different. Okay.
It really just depends. What about, it also depends on what they want.
Yeah.
You know?
What about Bitcoin?
It really does.
What is your theory on, I keep hearing about this Bitcoin. I don't really understand it. I've never seen anyone use it. Apparently it's this electronic way to transfer money. I don't know. It seems kind of sketchy to me, or risky. Is it risk? Do you think it's risky, or do you think it's a safe bet right now?
So, I am not going to give financial advice on cryptocurrency.
Okay.
I will tell you this. I have seen a lot of people lose a ton of money in it. And I've also seen a lot of people make ridiculous money in it. And
interesting. So it's risky.
It is a very volatile, high risk type of thing. But that's where I'm going to go back to what I said before. If you know what you're doing and you're educated in it and you understand it, and you're making a calculated risk and you can take responsibility for the outcome of it, then by all means do it.
Okay.
You know, but that's a choice. You know, I have cryptocurrency, but I don't have a lot of it in comparison to everything else that I have. And that was a choice, because I put a certain amount of money that I was actually okay with whatever the outcome was. I got educated enough that I feel safe about my decisions. And so that's fine.
Okay.
And if someone wants to add on or whatever, but I do truly believe that you should have a stable financial foundation. Yeah. I had a 7-year-old lady come to me who put the only $10,000 that she had in the world into cryptocurrency and then lost half of it.
Oh no.
And she's like, I know it's going to come up. I'm like, you're in your 70s. Like, what? We don't know.
How much longer
like,
can you wait?
What are you doing? Like, to me, it was like, she should have put most of that into something that was like safe, relatively, and then if she want to take a little bit of that and play a risky game, just like if you want to go to Vegas and put some money into slot machines, that's totally your prerogative. It's a game. It's fun. Fine. Yeah. But don't put your life savings in it. You know what I mean?
That's a bad idea. Yeah.
But I do know some people that are just brilliant, make great money with it. That's going to be a very small percentage of people. I'm not a huge fan of gambling because I just don't feel like I believe in people, first of all, exchanging, like doing something for society. It's not about like just a luck thing, you know? But you know, so I would be more on the urge of like create a business that does amazing things for people and make a ton of money. Like that's what you should be doing, or something, or you know, deliver services, do something that's beneficial to mankind and be rewarded as a result of that.
Well, speaking of doing amazing things, tell me about the song that you sang, The Bones. It has 1 million views on Facebook. Like, how did you, how did that come about? So your mom was a performing arts, she was a teacher, or she was a performer?
So both.
Okay. Yeah.
She performed. So I was raised by my dad, but my mom, you know, I would see her infrequently growing up. And there were a few times that I remember being able to see her live on stage, and it was very inspiring. Yeah. And actually it was really funny. I think when I was really, really little, like I have a very vague memory. I must've been 2, 3 years old. And I was like, I was seeing my mom sing at the piano, and I was like, that's what I want to do. So I always had that purpose. Like I always wanted to be a singer, because I thought, you know, one of the most beautiful things in the world is to be able to connect with people emotionally and impact them and make them feel something or inspire or uplift them. And I saw performers and singers do that, right? Then growing up, I was like, oh, maybe I'll be a doctor, because I love the idea of being able to heal people. So I wanted to be either one of those things. I ended up being a counselor, and now I feel like I'm able to kind of do that with what I do. So I'm pretty happy with my profession. But yeah, the singing thing I always really want to do. I actually enjoy it and I love connecting with people. So, but I had such low confidence. So I hadn't been on a stage for like since I was like 13 or something. But in March, I felt like I was confident enough to make a video. So around that time, I can't remember. And so I covered Rise Up. So this is before this most recent one. We launched it on Facebook and I got like 1.2, 1.3 million views on it and such great feedback, like amazing feedback. I had all these people reaching out to me like, oh my gosh, you made me cry. You touched me. This was amazing. I think part of it also was the timing. Like it's a great song, great message. And, you know, COVID had just kind of, you know, hit like and really started affecting us. And so it was like Rise Up and I dedicated it to medical workers. It's on my Facebook page.
Yeah. Very cool.
And then I was like, wow, this was amazing. It was such a great thing. And I connected up with so many people and made relationships. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'm just going to keep doing it because I can, you know, like that. The greatest thing about, you know, getting really good at money and finance and getting educated and doing the type of work that I do is very flexible, is that you can create your life,
freedom.
And whether you do what I do or you are a product of what I do, it just makes you more free and able to do what you want to do when you want to do it.
That's
right?
very cool. Yeah.
And so I was like, let's do another one. So I released the other one like a month ago or some weeks ago. And again, we got like 1.3 million views. It was awesome. I have another one that I'll have coming out pretty soon.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely look for that. And then, like I like to end each episode with a charity. You had mentioned the CLC Tutoring. So this is people that give tutoring to kids so it's free tutoring because it's based on donations of other people then.
Yeah. The Community Learning Center. Again, I am all about education and specifically financial, but in order for people to really be able to change their mind decisions and be able to do stuff, they have to have education. You know, education is really, you know, it's the key thing behind everything. And in fact, it's behind criminality. Criminality occurs because people are not educated and they don't have other solutions besides that, you know, to try to live and survive. So I'm really into that. It's a CLC Learning Center.
I'll put that link in the notes if people want to check that out, learn more about it, donate even. Well, you've accomplished so much with the weight loss, the financial planning, the singing. What does the future hold for you? Are you going to write a book or are you going to do more speaking engagements or what else is?
I've been doing speaking engagements. I have been building my business and I've actually been helping people to be successful in finance. So I'm going to probably do a lot more of that. I still take on clients, but just ones that are referred directly to me or that I want to work with. And I'm definitely going to keep singing. I did my first live performance on Sunday in like forever. And that went really well.
Wow.
I should have that, maybe a recording of that pretty soon. I'll be posting.
How many people did you perform in front of?
You know, I don't actually even know. With COVID, we had a large space, but we had to do social distancing. So I think it was like 100 people maybe. And then there was a Zoom. So people came in through Zoom. So that was really cool. It was a concert. It was a nonprofit concert to raise money for, to support artists because it's a hard time right now.
Definitely. I got to work I interview a lot of musicians, so I know all about that.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you.
They make most of their money through touring and they can't tour, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this. People make sure to follow you on social media, keep up with all your new adventures.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Bye-bye, Zoe.
Bye.
Zoe Abbott, a financial advisor. Check her out on social media. Follow her to keep up with what she's doing. She's already accomplished so much with her career and weight loss, but I think that more exciting things will definitely be in the works for her. If you enjoyed this episode, you can share it on your Facebook or Instagram story. Check out some of the other episodes that I've got. You might enjoy the Jarek Robbins, a good episode about goal setting, or Holinsky's Hope. It's about mental health. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow me on social media. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, shoot for the moon.